Thank you for joining me, and nice to meet you. Welcome to our community. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Lilly Bankston, and I am the new agent in town. Just to kind of give you a quick backstory on me, I want to say about 8-10 years ago, I started off as an actor. Prior to that, or after that, I slowly started getting more towards the agent side of things. So I worked for an agency in the Texas area for 6 years. And then after that, I decided to open up my own agency. I do have a business background, so it kind of made sense, putting in my experience being an actor and then putting in, the experience that I have with business together to open up my own talent agency. So with that, I've been running the Bankston Talent Agency for a little under 2 years. So we are pretty new. I then heard a lot about what was going on in the New Mexico market. And I'm like, ooh, let me do some research. So I want to say starting last year in June, I started doing research on the market, trying to get to know people. And from there, I had decided to open up an office in New Mexico. And then at that point in time, that's when I became SAG franchised in both the state of Texas and New Mexico. And right when I was ready to get the ball rolling, we got on lockdown for COVID-19. So Here I am.
So you say we're new. Is that the greater we, or is there actually somebody else that you're partnered with?
So I do have another agent that I hired last year. So we both work as a team. So when I say new, I say that I'm new with my business. But right. For being an agent,
new in the market.
Oh, yes. Right. Yes. Thanks for clarifying that. Yes, we are new in the market. Right. Everything, I've already started signing some New Mexico residents, having a nice roster, a nice good foundation here. But I would say, with everything kicking in New Mexico, I started becoming pretty active in the past 2-3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you go back and forth between Texas and New Mexico?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll start you there.
You have another agent, so I didn't know if maybe she ran the Texas office, you ran the New Mexico office.
Yeah, well, with it only being with two people.
I say she, I don't know.
Oh, it's a she, yeah. Okay, her name's Casey Roy. Yeah. So Casey is based in Texas, but for me, I really do want to have a presence in both. So I do fly back and forth. Unfortunately, I had to cancel all my flights because of this. But I just fly back and forth.
Great.
To have a presence in both.
So you're slowly getting settled in here, and hopefully soon things will be up and running. In terms of actors who are looking for representation, how do you determine who you want to sign on as a client? What are some of the qualities or things that you look for? Is it training? Is it experience? Is it?
So the number one thing I'm going to look at is the headshot. And I don't think a lot of people understand that this industry is very much like a domino effect. So it's the same thing when I submit my actors to projects. The casting directors, if they don't know you, they're going to look at your headshot. So that's pretty much the same with me. You have to have a good headshot. I know that every agency is different. I know that some agencies are okay with, a selfie headshot as long as it shows you who you are. But personally, for my agency, I am looking for professional headshots that show your personality as well. So that's the number one thing that I look at. The second thing that I look at too is training. Training is very important to me. Whenever I get EcoCast auditions or essentially self-taped auditions for projects, I immediately could tell who's done training and who hasn't. So with that, I definitely want somebody who's done training as well. Special skills is always a fun thing too. I had recently signed a girl who she does stunts for skateboarding, and that is something that I don't have on my roster and I found very interesting. So whenever I do get a submission, I love, if people show me a skills reel to show me what they have, because that could be something that could make them stand out in the crowd. And in general, I'm always open to representing or possibly representing somebody who is newer to the market. So I am open to representing some newer actors to help develop them. With that, I tend to go back to the headshot again and look at my roster, see if I don't have anybody of that type or that look, I would be willing to have a meeting with them. And for me, the way that I also decide if I want to represent an actor is getting to know them personally, just kind of like how I'm talking to you, you know.
Sure.
As long as you're not crazy, you know, I'm willing to give somebody a shot and see where it goes. I know, especially I could, you know, talk about the Texas market. There were a lot of new actors that I brought in that, you know, with their headshots, I didn't have a lot of their type or their look. So I met with them. They seemed like great. They seemed great, had a good personality. I brought them in and they're pretty much my top commercial bookers. So, you know, it's really nice to see that development. So, I mean, if you don't have a lot of experience, you know, there's nothing to lose if you wanted to just submit your headshot, your resume, your other materials and see what happens. Maybe I will ask for a meeting and we could go on from there.
Definitely. And, you know, I always tell newer actors, you know, Dustin Hoffman didn't have any credits until he did. Meryl Streep didn't have any credits until she did. So, you know, we all start somewhere, and it's hopefully a long and exciting process.
Exactly. It is. It's definitely a journey. But I always tell my actors that you should definitely embrace the journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what can an actor do to get on your radar? Somebody who's new or even who's been around for a while and just is interested in working with you and wants to get on your radar?
Yeah, well, they could email me if they go to my website. You know, the email's there. I've had a lot of actors add me on Facebook. I actually personally don't like it when people add me on Facebook just because Facebook is more of a personal thing for me. But going to my website is definitely a big way to introduce themselves to me. I like Instagram. I think Instagram is definitely more my vibe when it comes to people wanting to, you know, follow me and I could follow them back. So Instagram is a good one. Also, something that I like that some actors have been doing too are they would tag me on some of their headshots on Instagram or tag me in a reel that they just uploaded on their Instagram, which I think is really cool because I get notified by that. And I'm just like, ooh, who just tagged me? And it makes me look at what they're doing. So, I mean, if I see something like that and there's something I'm really interested in, I would definitely reach out. So I think Instagram is a huge one for people to get on my radar.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So in terms of running the agency and working with actors, I think it's common knowledge that you get paid when we get paid. So you earn your money from the 10% commission you make off of actors. Are there any other fees that you charge actors along the way, or is it just the 10%?
Isn't that against the rules? For me, yeah, I don't know how. Well, every agency is different, so I'll give them that.
Right.
But specifically for my agency, there are no upfront cost fees or any other fees.
Okay.
Whenever an actor books, that's when I'm able to get the commission, and that's the only way I get my income.
When a client of yours gets new headshots, how many do you like them to send you to get final approval? Because I'm assuming you don't want to get 450 headshots from every actor.
That's funny because there's this one point in time where I did get 450 headshots for one actor, but it's fun. Honestly, gosh, if I were to think of a good number, I'm thinking maybe around 30 of what they like. You know, when I pick out headshots, I definitely do want the actors to like it as well. So when I get the headshots that they bring in that they also like, I'm able to filter out which ones I feel won't work. So then that's kind of how the filtering system works. But, you know, in a way, I feel that it also depends too. So, you know, a lot of people that use Actors Access or casting networks, the default amount of photos that you could upload for free are 2. So if people want me to filter it out to 2, maybe they could give me a lower number, maybe 15 or 20. If they decide, Lily, put on, like, here are all my headshots, put whatever headshots you think, they could get the unlimited plan where they could put unlimited photos. They could give me a little bit more, and then I could start handpicking, like, oh, this is a good character shot. This is good commercial. This is good. So it really depends in that sense. But let's just say the number 30. Yeah.
I think I think setting a limit is always a good idea.
Yeah.
How often do you like your clients to connect with you?
So with that one, that depends. I'm pretty communicative with my roster already, especially with the whole COVID thing. I'm sending them a lot of things, so they're pretty much hearing from me 3 times a week. But in general, I would view it more as a case-by-case basis. If for whatever reason if they are noticing that maybe they're not getting a lot of auditions, they could reach out to me and be like, hey, Lily, I noticed I haven't gotten an audition in a while. Is there anything we could discuss? And that could be an open of, me uploading their submission reports and then having some kind of strategy meeting to see what's up. So it's definitely more of a case-by-case basis. I've had some actors who would follow up just because they were, told to follow up once a week or so, or once a month, and they would just say, hi, Lily. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Right. Yeah, maybe I'll say hi back, but especially when there's a lot of projects going on and a sense of urgency kind of thing, like, it's sweet that you're saying hi, but it's like, I don't have enough time to respond to everything. So for me in this question, it's definitely more of a case-by-case basis.
So when the casting director sends you a character breakdown for each project, how do you determine, I mean, this is a question that actors always ask, how do you determine who to submit and who not? Because, you always hear actors say, well, he went in for it and I didn't, and we're the same. Yes. So how do you determine who to send in? I know part of it is, how many you're allowed to send in, but then how do you decide?
So many times when we get a breakdown, it will have specifics. So for instance, if I get a commercial breakdown and it says, we need a female ages 18 to 25, any ethnicity. All right, okay, so let me look in my roster to see who fits those specs. And those are the people that I could submit, and also be aware that the casting directors have an X amount of slots that are allowed for them to bring in. So even though I may think somebody's perfect for a role, I'll submit them for it, but ultimately it's the casting director who chooses who will come in. So if that guy said, well, that guy looks like me and he came in, well, maybe he took your slot. I don't, it could be something like that. But so, I'll look at my specs. Then sometimes it gets a little more specific. So what if they say, ages 18 to 25, Caucasian female, must have a, athletic physique, who could also juggle. All right, so I have to look in my roster, and of course that filters out more and more. So that's how it is, more on the commercial end. Now, when it comes to film and television, that is something that is a little more trickier on my end, because many times it's the same thing. Do they fit the specs that what they're looking for? Male, 50 to 60, all of that. So that's my first step. When it comes to film and TV, I will look at if it's a co-starring role, supporting lead. And then it gets to the point of me figuring out if I believe this actor can take on that role. Because if there's a newer actor who says, ooh, submit me for this, series regular role, and then it says on my end, star names only, I obviously can't submit you for that. So things are specific with that. And I know, like I said, every agency is different, but with me being a newer agency, just overall, I am being very strict with who I submit to make sure that whoever I do submit, I know would do a good read. Because as being a newer agent, a lot of out-of-state casting directors, and that's where I do get a lot of my film and TV things, they're out of state. A lot of those casting directors don't know who I am. So as a first impression, I need to show them that I could send them some really good people.
Right. You alluded to somebody newer saying, send me in for this. How do you feel about an actor who hears about a role that's going to be cast and coming to you and saying, hey, can you get me in for this role?
So, that's another depends kind of thing. There are times where, I have so many breakdowns that I need to submit people for. And, maybe an actor was able to get one and say, hey, Lily, I saw this. Do you have this on your end? Can you submit me for it? And if they fit the specs and I believe it, I will put a note. It kind of gives me, foresight, like, cool, I'll remember to submit this person for this project once I get to that project.
Right.
So I'm definitely cool with that. Now, if it's somebody who is newer, saying, ooh, submit me for the series regular role, the only time I would ever do that is if the project is so incredibly specific. Like, right. Oh, this person needs to know, they need to be fluent in these 5 specific languages, need right. to be exactly this height, need to, something like that. And that person fits the specs. I'll give it a shot because that's going to be a hard spec to find. But, if it's somebody who's super new that wants to be sent in for a series regular role, and then, that person may not have any training, that person may not even have a reel, maybe that person has never been on set, I can't risk that because then that will become a liability. Well, I don't know if liability is the right word for it, but
it's a risk-reward ratio.
Yeah. So that's that answer.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, part of the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of times, just in life, it has nothing to do with acting. People will tell you what you want to hear. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important in order to grow, people need to know the reality of what the truth is, and then they can choose their proper path. But if you don't know what the obstacles are, how can you possibly get around them?
Exactly.
So I appreciate your honesty.
Exactly. And with that, if he's just like, oh, he or she is just like, hey, I really want to get into this role. How do I get that? Well, do some training. There are a lot of student films out there. You need to develop a reel. That's really important to have. So see what other student films or indie films are out there, regardless if it pays or it doesn't pay. That's still the job of an actor, to do whatever you can to build your resume, right. to build a reel, because those are essential. So. Yeah.
And in the common theme, and I feel like a broken record, but the common theme through these interviews seems to be, just keep doing the work. Keep doing the work.
Yes.
And if you do the work, the rest will work itself out.
Yes. Absolutely.
Now, when you get an audition for an actor and they're not comfortable, whether it's it's nudity, or it's a sexual situation, or it's a scene, where they're a violent person and they're not comfortable playing that, do you have problems with an actor saying, I'd like to pass on this audition?
Not at all. For me, if an actor says they are not comfortable for a role because of those things, it's no questions asked. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to decline on your behalf. That's just something that, if I were to push somebody to do an audition, and this has happened several times for me as well, I just wouldn't feel right. If an actor's not comfortable, I can't do anything about that, and I'll decline it. And I'll put in my notes that, okay, this person's not comfortable with doing nudity, or this person is not comfortable with all of the cussing in general. I'll put that in my notes. So if I see another role that pops up, I'll remember, okay, I can't submit for that role. So right. Yeah, I have no issues declining in actor for that reason. Now, there are other times where people decline an audition that can be frustrating for an agent, as in, we may have submitted you for 3 auditions and you've declined all of them, saying, oh, I can't do it because I can't find the time, or, oh, I can't do this, or, oh, I can't do that. They're excuses that aren't strong enough to cover it. Or maybe they keep saying they're ill 3 times. It's almost like the boy who cried wolf kind of thing. Like, when do we believe it? Like, and I know with self-tapes definitely take some kind of some discipline. So are actors really attacking them, or are they just lazy and being like, I'll make up whatever excuse? So that's when I personally, as an agent, get really frustrated, because our job is to get you those opportunities. If you
Right.
keep declining them, then why are you having an agent? Do you want an agent to say that you have an agent, or were you wanting an agent so you could further your career and get those opportunities?
Right.
So that's, for me, what I get frustrated. But I mean, if an actor definitely has a family emergency, that's okay. Family first, safety first. Going back to nudity, not
More moral, ethical, religious.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's fine. But don't get me wrong. I've definitely had my frustration with people canceling too many auditions, because it's just like, we're not benefiting each other. And so many times that ends up of me dropping an actor, because it's just, at this point in time, you're not using my services and we're just not benefiting each other. So.
Right. And it's no different than friendship. If you make plans with your friend and every time
Mhm.
they cancel, you stop calling your friend.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really that basic.
Exactly. Trust is a really important thing. The agent and actor relationship is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your take on marketing for actors in terms of actors trying to promote their careers?
I think actors should definitely have a website. I think they should have that place to go, so we could know everything about what they're doing. What shows did they just get cast in? Let's look at their resume. Let's look at their reel. I think that's a good place to have it, because I mean, everybody seems to, have their profile all set up with Actors Access, which is breakdown services on our end. And those are great. And we send those to casting directors. But I think it's good to have more of a public domain for the things that you have done and showcase. I know for me, Facebook is also a big thing for actors. I guess I'll tell people this: when anybody is interested in representation, maybe I do take a peek at their Facebook, because I want to see what they look like. So that's, even having a Facebook actor page for themselves.
Right.
Instagram, once again, is a big thing. I remember when I hated Instagram because I didn't understand it, but now I'm understanding how big it's become, and this industry is just constantly evolving, that Instagram has now become a heavy hitter in this industry. So I think that's a big thing. And also having business cards with their headshots on it. I think once all this COVID stuff has kind of blown over and we could safely see everybody and do mixers again, I think it's great for actors to take advantage to meet people in person and share your business cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my take.
Yeah. And do you have any advice for actors in terms of the way they use social media?
Woo!
I know that's a leading question.
Yeah, it's I don't know. That one's tough. Just because I guess personally for me, I'll say it personally for me, so there's no wrong answer.
Absolutely. I'll put a little disclaimer.
Yeah, it's I look to see, when I do look at people's Facebook, if they're public, I'll take a look, and it does give me a vibe on what their essence is, how they are as people. Yeah, I would just say try to keep it professional. It's hard because there's like a silver lining to that, just because it's their personal page and they should be free to, do whatever they can. But I don't know, if you're going to show a lot on your Facebook page, maybe put it on private. Yeah, I don't know. That one is a really tough one for me, but I will say there have been a few people that were seeking representation from me. I'll take a glance on their social media pages, and there were times where I was kind of turned off by it. So I didn't go forward with setting up a meeting with them. So I'll say that, and everybody could take whatever they want from that and
Absolutely.
see what they could do. Yeah.
And part of the reason I asked the question is I hear more and more that that the producers and studios and networks will check somebody's social media before they decide to hire them.
Absolutely. And you know what? The idea of me looking at people's Facebook, I found that out because I was looking at, or I had attended a casting director panel. And that was that's something that one of the casting directors did. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. So I started doing it. So know that casting directors look too.
Yeah.
We're
There's
all
eyes
looking.
everywhere.
Yeah, everyone's looking at you. But hey, if you want to be an actor, just get used to it because that's how it
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. Um, so what are some of the things an actor can do for you to make your job easier?
Oh my gosh. I feel like this one could go on and on. So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
So whenever I submit actors for an audition, I definitely appreciate fast confirmation. Because of that, you know, this is a domino effect. If it's the first audition and you get a notification that you have an audition, be aware that your agent is waiting for you to confirm and the casting director is waiting for you to confirm. If it is a callback, be aware that the agent's waiting for you to confirm, the casting director is waiting for you to confirm, and the client's waiting for you to confirm. We're all waiting on you. So in a way, I've kind of was able to shape my roster to confirm as soon as possible for these kind of auditions. If they aren't going to confirm the audition, they need to decline it ASAP so the casting director can replace your spot. There had been times where some actors would get their notification in the morning, and then at night, they would decline the audition. That is a way to get a casting director to not like you and also have your agent be frustrated with you. So kind of a rule that I do is when actors get a audition notification, if I didn't hear anything within the hour or after an hour, I'll text them and be like, hey, have you seen this audition that you got? Can you confirm it or decline it ASAP? So fast confirmations is a big thing for me. Also, being on time for auditions. Now, some actors may not know this, but sometimes when they're late to an audition, the casting director will call me and be like, hey, we have this actor who was scheduled at this time. It's now an hour past that time. Are they still coming? So, you know, I have to check on them, trying to chase them down. And then I have a lot of anxiety running if they're not answering their phone, and then I just get ignored for the rest of the day. That is another way for an actor to not be on my good list.
Right.
Yeah, unless they call me later saying, hey, I was in the hospital. Okay, that's fine, you know. But being on time for your auditions is important, and then also being prepared for your auditions is important too.
Right.
So those are some ways to make my job a lot easier. I feel that there's a lot more that is in my head. I just can't quite think about it in the top of my head. Oh, actually, there is one more. I like proactive actors. I like actors who go out there to try to learn more about this industry. I know that there are a couple of actors who rely on their agent all the time. And they need to understand that when you sign with an agency, we are a partnership. You know, we are working together to, you know, get you some roles booked. I find that there are times where some actors will believe that the agent has to do all the work, and they start blaming the agent, being like, why am I not getting more auditions? Why this? Why that? They need to understand that they also need to do their job. So maybe, you know, if an actor says, hey, you know, I haven't been getting any auditions. Why is this happening, agent, or whatever? I could bring up the submission report and I could show them, well, I submitted you for 40 projects this past month. And as you could see, none of the casting directors decided to bring you in. So let's look at your headshots. Your headshots are 8 years old. So
In black and white.
yeah, in black and white and upside down. So so I suggest you get some new headshots, because right now those headshots aren't doing you justice. Casting directors are passing on you. If they decide that they don't want to get headshots because they don't feel that they're a good enough investment, then like I can't do anything for you. I could submit you for one project. I could submit you for 1,000 projects. Nothing will change.
Right.
So being you know, accountable for themselves, understand that this is their business too. As an actor, when they have all of their materials together, they have a reel, they have their resume, they have everything set up. that is what I use to pitch them to casting directors.
Right.
So they need to make sure that they have that set up, and that the agent just can't do that. Like, your job as an actor is to make your profile the best it can be.
Right. Well, I haven't asked anybody this, but I'll just throw
Hey.
I'll just throw it at you.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I'd rather hear it again from you.
Okay.
You know, I think it's important for actors to know what exactly is the agent's job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a manager is much different than an agent.
Yes.
So what is an agent's job?
So the agent's job, what we do is whatever materials that you have that you've completed on your own as an actor our connection is with the casting directors. So I work closely with them. So I submit all of your materials to those casting directors to pitch to them, to get them to bring you into the audition room. My job is to get the actor into the audition room. So with that, with both New Mexico and Texas, now this is kind of different with the bigger markets.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, every agency is different. So in Texas and New Mexico, I play both as a manager and an agent. With them being, a smaller market, it does make sense. So for that,
right.
I'm definitely helping actors of all different experience levels. I'm guiding them. I'm able to guide them. And I know for me, I've shot myself in the foot by helping too much.
Right.
I apparently love video editing. So there are some times that I helped some of my actors with their reel. There was one time where I wanted to submit an actor for a project. I realized in their profile, they didn't even have their resume up. So I ended up typing in their resume real quick,
right,
so I could submit them. So this is stuff that I do. I'm kind of like, that dummy check, like making sure everything is polished before I pitch an actor to a casting director or I submit an actor for a project. But there are times where I think I've been a little too generous with that. I'm trying to get my actors to do it on their own, because in order for them to become a better actor, they need to learn, and they can't expect that their agent will do it for them all the time.
Right. And
so,
technically speaking, sorry.
No, you're good.
I mean, technically speaking, just for clarification purposes, that's something you choose to do.
Yes.
It's not your responsibility.
Yes. So I'll even get closer to this. It is not it is something that I personally choose to do. If another agent doesn't do that, it's not actually our job to do it.
Right.
For me, I do have a small roster, and it allows me to do it. I do see a lot of benefits to doing it, so that's why I keep doing it. But once again, I've told you that I've had to take a step back because there are times where it's just like the actor isn't learning anything, and they aren't growing if I keep helping them. So I've really taken a step back and just helped guided them in what they need to do. But yes, this is something that I personally choose to do. Not every agent has to do it.
Right.
So don't get mad. We shouldn't be expected. It's possible, because we get overwhelmed. Agents get overwhelmed with submissions. There are times where actors do ask for my help, but if it's during a busy time, it's really hard for me to get there. Just because number one priority as an agent is to get actors submitted for projects.
Right.
So when I do have free time, I'm able to help guide actors, but be aware that technically is not the agent's job.
Right.
Yes.
And just to tag at the end, once they book the job, the other part of your job is to negotiate the contract.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now there are some projects where, this is the set fee, and there are times where we're now the liaison between, casting and the actor, or the producer and the actor. And it's just like, this is what we're able to offer. I could then go to the actor and be like, does this sound good to you? Everything A-okay? Yeah, it's good. All right, let's sign it.
Right.
So, yeah.
What do you, and I know we've covered a little bit of it already, what do you wish your actors, or not your actors, but actors generally speaking, would do more of and would also do less of?
Oh, yeah. Well, the whole of actors would stop doing, like, with actors stop doing, I did that long speech about not relying on the agent 100%.
Yes.
That's a huge, huge, huge one. It's a partnership. The
Yeah.
agent isn't doing, like, don't think that when you sign with an agent, you're going to be a star overnight. That's always a big thing. But also, you have to make sure your headshots are up to date. You have to make sure that you're taking on training. You have to make sure that, you're proactive. That will help you, because when I have, a nice polished resume and a nice polished profile from you, it's just going to make your presence stronger, more valuable. Casting directors, producers, they may be like, ooh, I like that. Let's bring them in. And then here's another thing too. So if you're new to the acting thing,
Right.
and casting directors don't know you, be aware that they are judging you on your headshots and they're judging you on your resume, everything that's paper. They don't know who you are. So that is important. Once you get into the room and they get to know you, they get to hear your voice. They know how you carry yourself. That's just the little bits and pieces of casting directors getting to know you even more. So then it gets to the point where now, like, if they like you just as a person and they know, man, this person's professional, and I know that when I bring them in, they're going to do a good read, you're always going to be in the back of their mind. So they're just going to keep calling you. And that's a way to building your momentum as an actor as well. So once again, it's not all about the agent. The actor definitely needs to, put in some work as well for that. What I wish actors would do more of or have more of: confidence. Confidence is a huge thing. And I get it. This industry can be rough sometimes. There is a lot of rejection. A lot of people are working hard, and they're just getting rejected. There's a lot of even just financial investment to be in this industry for jobs that aren't guaranteed. It can be rough. But in general, I think actors need to understand that it's part of the job as an actor. Understand it's not just you. Everybody gets rejected for roles. Understand that getting rejected is part of the job of an actor. Booking roles is part of the job of an actor. Auditioning is part of the role of being an actor. Doing training, all of that is part of the job. So I think when a lot of people decide that they want to get in this industry, they think about the good stuff of, oh, I could walk the red carpet, and ooh, I'm going to win a Oscar someday, and I'm going to make so much money. But they don't think about the hard part of the job. It is a hard job, and I think being an actor can be one of the hardest jobs, just because, there is a lot involved, getting into the audition. Are you the one person that they want to book out of the other 200 submissions that they got? Right. It's a lot. But I think if people are really true to themselves and have that confidence, understanding this is part of the job, my job is that I am an actor. These are all the different aspects of this job as an actor. So I'm going to go in the room, do my thing, be true to myself, show the casting directors and producers who I am. If they like it and they see that I fit the role, cool. If they don't, going on to the next audition. Yeah. So I think confidence is a big one, because I think a lot of people get into their head too much. Yeah. And what do you like most about your job? Oh, man. I think the biggest thing is seeing my actors develop. It's weird. I know that I'm young, and I represent a lot of actors of all ages, but I do view them as my children. I don't even have kids in real life. Yeah. But I do view them as my children. It's so great when I decide to sign on a new actor, and they're really working hard to develop themselves, and then they get their first booking. That's something that I get really excited about. Or maybe they just get their first audition. And from there, they start getting called into more auditions. They start booking more. Their momentum is definitely kicking, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. Like, before, you go in not knowing what to expect, and then once things just click and they start understanding the job of an actor and what they need to do, then I see them, grow up, and it makes me cry sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest one for me. Just developing, and also with me, with my business being new, I'm definitely somebody who I can definitely admit that I know I don't know everything in this industry, and I don't think anybody does. It constantly evolves. It constantly
Absolutely.
evolves, so it changes all the time. So not only are the actors that I represent growing, but I'm also growing with them. So I think, together it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's terrific. And it has to be so exciting to have a hand in moving someone forward in their career and knowing that you were part of that,
Mm-hmm.
you
Oh,
know?
it's so rewarding. Like I said, there's some nights that I would cry out of joy, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. But it's good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And so what would you like people to know about your job and in the industry, that they may not understand or realize about your part in all of this?
Hmm. I feel like I answered that with like every other question that
Yeah.
has been answered. Say that one more time. Maybe I could come up with a different answer.
What would you like actors to understand about your role in this process that they may not understand?
Okay. Here's a new answer I could give you now. I'm on their side. I'm always on their side. If there is, I know that I've had a couple of emails where some actors might have been scared because I'm really emphasizing, like, guys, get your taped auditions in ASAP, or guys, confirm your audition quickly. Be aware that I'm not just shouting at them because I hate them. I'm letting them know that these are things that need to happen because it makes us all look good. I want them to succeed. So I'm letting them know that these are things that need to happen if you want to build up your momentum and get more auditions. So know that, like, I'm not trying to scare any of my actors if they randomly get a text saying, hey, you need to confirm this quickly, or you need to do this, or anything of that sort. I'm really just trying to help them, because on my end, a lot of actors, I was a former actor. I know that all the information that all the information that I know now as an agent, I wish I knew as an actor, because it would have made me so much better.
Right.
So a lot of times when I talk to my actors, I do tell them my job and what I do. I try to be as transparent as possible because I want them to have this information that I know.
Right.
So I want them to know, because like I said, like, if I knew all the information that I know now, I would have been such a stronger and more prepared actor 10 years ago. So
Absolutely.
preparation is a big thing. So I hope they listen to me and understand that, like, I'm being a little strict on certain things because it needs to be that way.
Right. And
For that particular thing.
at the end of the day, yes, we are artists, but this is a business.
Yes.
And it's an industry. It's a
Mm-hmm.
global industry. And even though it's a local market, we're part of a worldwide industry.
Absolutely.
And, if one of the gears is broken, then it brings the whole process to a grind, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. And actually, I'll actually tag a little more on that, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Again, another thing that's really important too, just adding to that, is people taking audition, whenever they do get an audition, to take it seriously, very seriously, because if they decline because they're too lazy to do it, be aware that there are 1,000 other actors who are going to go and take that role. So, the mindset to have on this is, there's a lot of competition out there. So whenever you do get an audition, be aware that you were one of the few that got picked to do
Absolutely.
it. So, be grateful about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I think there was more, but then my brain just kind of like, ooh.
That's okay. I mean, look, when you love what you do, I could talk about it all day.
Mm-hmm.
But I won't. So on that note, I will just say thank you so much. It's been a pleasure meeting you. And,
Mhm.
I appreciate you doing this for us.
Of course.
And, stay safe, stay well. And when we start our whole networking thing again, I'm sure
Yes,
we will cross paths and meet in person.
absolutely. Absolutely. I look forward to meeting everybody at Mixers whenever that happens.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
take care and thanks again.
Of course. All right. Have a good one.